You want to allow drugs to come through our southern border? We're going to tariff you. You want to allow them to come through Canada? We're going to tariff you. China, if you're going to allow this stuff to get sold in our country, largely produced in China, we're going to add another 10% to your tariff. We are going to cost your countries, your economies. We're going to cost your businesses billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. If you think you're going to poison Americans, it's not going to happen. You're not going to destroy our youth. You're not going to destroy our society. You're not going to destroy our families. You're not going to do it. It's going to cost you. I'm going to put an end to it. Laura, when my father sent that 20 minutes ago, I literally cheered out loud.
The Trumps are out here talking like they're reverse Oprah Winfrey's or something. You get a tariff, and you get a tariff, all over things that they claim to champion against. But since their entire political movement is based in angrily barking, cartoonishly bad ideas, there's only a matter of time before they'll have to follow through on the fantasies that they've been selling.
I would say let him get at it. I think that would be a good thing for the Doge Committee to be, and Marjorie Taylor Greene to dissect.
I was going to say the Department of Government Efficiency could take a look at some of that unspent money, you think, and perhaps bring it back?
I would hope so. Well, I mean, bring it back. It's vapor. We're printing money. We're borrowing money from our great grandchildren right now. Every 100 days, we add $1 trillion to the debt, and nobody has a plan to pay it back. I think this would at least stop some of that debt.
They've got Tim Burchett sitting in a dark parking lot like a creeper, excited over the idea to hand the keys to government spending over to Elon Musk, a billionaire that's been showing his business skills are about as sharp as Trump's after losing billions of dollars in X. But he, of course, expects to get it all back by legally stealing it from taxpayers that aren't included in Burchett's claim to care about our great-grandkids.
Well, we want to start with getting the new Department of Government Efficiencies back and the president's back with codifying legislation, passing legislation. We want the president to start off with as many executive orders as possible in being able to reduce the size of government and being able to dismantle some of the contracts that the unions have created at the end of the Biden administration that would seem to make it impossible to make even the slightest reductions to the workforce. And then we want to work with them on identifying programs that are obsolete, programs that receive too much money, programs that have wasted too much money, and not just divisions and agencies that need to be eliminated, but cabinet level entities that need to be eliminated. I think this is going to be, as you know, Trey, a very large undertaking, but with a Republican majority in the House, a Republican majority in the Senate, and President Trump and his mandate, I think that we're going to be able to make an impact on day one.
Again, James Comer's got lofty goals to eliminate agencies, departments, and unions under the assumption that no one will pay attention to what they decide to do with the money the ultra-rich are eyeing to keep their yachts afloat. They'll try to follow through to their voters on their promises to create unrest and violence to distract us further while they hoard more of our money. But when you fill the government with people willing to rubber stamp the desires of a vengeful and failed businessman like Donald Trump, there's a good chance that they can't just threaten and arrest their way around Congress.
Should two people from outside of government like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have that kind of sway over what stays and what goes in the federal government?
Well, ultimately, they're going to provide recommendations. It's Congress that appropriates money. Let me provide an area where there could be bipartisan collaboration. I mean, the defense budget, which is nearly $1 trillion, is dominated by 5 primes. There has been tremendous reporting about the waste, fraud, and abuse in that budget. The Pentagon hasn't passed an audit and has failed the last 6 or 7 audits. So if they go to say there needs to be more open competition, not the monopolization in defense contractors, and propose recommendations, that's something that I think could be supported. If they find areas of truly wasteful spending across the government, they would get support. But if they start to recommend cuts in Social Security or Medicare or Title I education funding, they'll face strong resistance. So it really just depends what they recommend.
You know, I appreciate Connor's glass half full approach before pirates like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy take their advisory role of proposing cuts to programs that most Americans deserve and pay for every year. We can see if they follow through on their populist pitch of eliminating wasteful spending that we find in large amounts like military spending and tax cuts for themselves. You know, it's odd that we forgot that in his first term, Trump took part in exactly what he's now complaining about.
If President Trump does what he said he would do during his campaign, the inflation shock administered to the economy is substantially larger than anything that happened at the beginning of the last administration. He's vowed huge deficit increases through continuation of his tax cuts and new tax cuts. He has trashed the idea of the independence of the central bank. He said that we should want to have a less highly valued currency, which means less valuable money, higher prices, and that's just on the demand side. The more important part is he's talked about a big tariff on every good that we import, which means higher import prices, so that's substantially inflationary. If the policies are implemented in the way they have been talked about, it's going to be more inflationary than what we saw before, and that will be very politically toxic and will raise cynicism and disillusionment in the country.
Looks like we'll have to wait and see if this administration follows through and really implements financial punishments on like sandwich shops over getting Eric Trump's order wrong, or pisses off its financiers by attempting to deport undocumented workers that they thrive off of exploiting, both financially and politically. They've got the keys now. So if they drive the truck into a brick wall while the majority of their supporters are celebrating owning the libs while their pockets are being picked, they'll have no one to blame but themselves. But they still won't anyway.
In terms of ensuring that everyone gets treated fairly, in the past you've said, look, if your name is Musk or if your name is somebody who the administration doesn't like, you're going to get different treatment. And that's been the case for the last couple of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, look, that type of lawfare is going to end. For too long in this government, particularly over the last couple of years, your last name dictated how the government treated you. If your last name was Soros, well, the commission bent over backwards and gave you a special, unprecedented commission-level shortcut to buy 200 radio stations. If your last name was Musk, well, then you lost $800 million contracts that you lawfully got. Everybody now is going to get a fair shake going forward.
Will Soros still be able to acquire those 200 radio stations?
There's a petition for reconsideration pending at the FCC right now, and I want to take a very hard look at that.